Let's do some troubleshooting. So last time we were here trying to do some playback and we got some error here. Unexpected expression after keyword list. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's invalid syntax there. Server. Let's start space. So A is started. And space equals repo 1 space. And we want to start the playback using space ID and this. Oh, wait. It needs a beginning sequence. About to process this thing. The member entered. No match member entered. Insert into event stream and then about to process. And moved. Seeing anything? Well, there's somebody here. Oh, he's moving around. Where's this message coming from? This about to process. Okay, it comes from the snapshot building. Let's remove some superfluous IO inspect. They're not needed. Snapshot. Process this and that. Comment this out for now. What else? Space channel. Index getting terminated. Snapshot test. Okay. I think it is working. Oh, there's some movement still. Let's create a new space. That's cool. That is cool. It's moving around. Okay, so when is this gen server killed? Let's see. Where do we create that? We have a playback. Playback server. Okay, who creates playback server? Start link. Playback server. Handled in space resolver. Okay, so we created it here, which means it'll survive, but I want to link it to the space. So if the space is closed, I mean, this will probably crash. if the space is closed. Otherwise, I'll just keep playing it, which I suppose is fine for now. Okay, I want to create a new space. Let's go here. Spaces, new space. We'll call this one B. And I will enter it. Whoa, why is there something here already? C6, going back. Oh, I clicked on the wrong one. I want to click on B. Okay, so we should get a member entered now, and I will create a grid. I will move to this corner here. Whoops. Did I just create another grid? Not sure. Delete. Okay, deleted one grid. Let's also add a cone. And let's color the cone red. Let's move the cone here. And over here. Here. And then now let's go to this corner. We'll add a sphere. Sphere. We'll color it green. And we'll move it here. Stretch it up. Over here. Yeah. We ourselves will go over here. Now we will create a box. Create a box. Color it yellow. Bright yellow. And then we will move that. Let's make it get up a little bit. Need this to go much taller. Move this over here. Okay. And now we can just come over here. Reserve the scene from here. And let's grab this and playback. Oh, what's this? Error. Database connection, run transaction. Here. Unique constraint. Event writer terminated constraint error when attempting to insert a struct. Oh, this is possibly in because of payload components. Type here. Created state. Does that matter? insert into entities. Okay, so the entity had a unique constraint problem on ID, the name, type, so it was an entity's primary key. Okay, let's close this. Preserve B. This is very interesting. I want you to recreate this snapshot and see if we get an error now. Okay, got member left. I just cleared this. I just cleared the snapshot and then updated the snapshot, and I didn't get any conflicting errors. So I think what happened was those errors must have been in the playback, because in the playback those entity IDs are not unique. So we'll have to do something about replays. So the playback server sends this process send after, which we can't really send it. Sorry, not this one. Send after. It does this process event with the space ID. And here's the payload, but the payload needs to be modified a little bit. So we can say modified payload equal modified payload event payload, and then give the modified payload here. And now we need to define this modified payload. Define modified payload. We get a payload, and so we want to iterate through the keys. Elixir iterate over map. So you can use enum each. And this, or for in map. Well, isn't there something like Elixir enum into? Let's see, enum, what are the methods? Into, and inserts the given numeral into a collectible. Note that passing a non-empty list as a collectible is deprecated. If you are collecting into a non-empty keyword list, consider using keyword merge if you're collecting into non-empty. I think probably reduce is fine. Our enumerable is the MapReduce invokes the given function to each element in the enumerable to reduce it to a single element while keeping an accumulator. Map and reduce. Just give me regular reduce. Reduce. Reduce invokes function for each element in the enumerable with the accumulator. I don't understand this one. Where's the accumulator? The first element of the enumerable is used as the initial value of the accumulator. Oh, okay. And the accumulator is the second value. Okay. Load function element accumulator and I think we need the accumulator, which is this. And this element is probably the key and value for the payload. So we can just return map.merge into the accumulator with key value. Compile and the XR playback server modify payload. So if you had something like, hey, fine, should give it back, and let's see, X, Y, Z. Okay. Now, if the key matches ID, so if key, which is a string, match, we do elixir string match string contains or ends with like this. If string ends with the string and the value, the suffix, so if it ends in ID, either ends with ID like that, or K is an ID, or can do something else, just return this original ID. Otherwise, give me map merge. The key won't change, but the value is my ID, some ID. We compile here, and so here if we have an ID, it's 1, 2, 3, it gets changed. And we need a UUID library. So let's look at the mix. And do we have the UUID here? Let's go look for one. Let's say UUID. This only generates 4, so I need version 3. This one seems fine. Sorry. It looks like UID. Is there a difference between this and this? Rename UID. Research and pattern. Research UID. Research UID 1.2. So the highest version here is 118. And yeah, highest one is here, 118, but if you do Elixir UID, you have 121. Let's just use this one. That's fine. So with this, we need to compile again. Let's see, UID. Next steps, compile. Can't continue due to errors on dependencies, mixed raise, load paths, anonymous test blah, blah, blah. So here you do UUID. Does this work? So dependency is not available. Next steps get. Oops. Next steps get. You know what I did? What did I do? I did mix steps compile. Oh, sorry. Okay. So that's there now. We can do UID 4, UID 3, and it needs two arguments. One is the namespace and some string. Does that work? So you need a valid symbol here. Let's see, what are the examples? UID nil. And so this will always generate the same UID here. So we can also take a UID as the first argument. Can't take anything, but we can take a UID. So that's interesting. So the playback server, anything that ends with this, UID, UID3, for now nil, and the value that it was. And this function, we compile. Okay, ID requires a string. So if this is a string, it's okay. So in our case, I think it would be fine because all the IDs usually are at the top level. Let's see, what was the ID of the space? So for B, it is this thing, 50 something. Let's inspect. So we can go spaces, event string space ID. So here member ID would get modified. This would become new member IDs. ID. Components, ID, this would be modified. That'll modify this payload and stick it in here. Okay, let's go observe. So let's do playback server. What's it called? Start link. Space ID is and beginning sequence is 0. Okay, so let's just jump into the space to observe. I'm missing some things here, but okay. I think it's going to delete the grid, this duplicate grid. Oops. Move this so I can see a little bit of something that's going happening. Moved. I feel like we're waiting a long time. I think we have the timing off. It's waiting way too long here. I think what's happening is that for every one, we subtracted the time away from the initial time. and made that the full duration, which isn't correct. In fact, we can make this playback a lot better if we just waited 1 second in between each one. So let's kill the server. If we go back to the playback server and just play a constant time for now, the timestamp send after. Yeah, this just gets the first event timestamp minus this initial timestamp. First event timestamp. Yeah, this is going to get longer and longer because this doesn't move, and this keeps moving further and further. So we need to kind of put in the time between the last message that was processed. Let me see. So when we handle the initial one, if there are messages, we set the initial timestamp to be, let's just say last timestamp will be the first event timestamp. And we're sending it now. And then when we process this, we go ahead, push in this thing, and then we say, go process that event. And then we reach to schedule the next one. If there's no more events, we exit. If this is the last event in there, we process this one. After how long? So you say the state last time stamp minus this one. That's how long to wait. Between timestamps, yes. And then we send this away. Oh, we make another call. We pass this in. And same for this. This should be last time stamp. And then this should have last timestamp updated to be the first event timestamp. Same with this one. I think these two can be consolidated a little bit because, yeah, we could say if rest is equal to nothing, just stick this in here, which I think is less redundant than all of these. Copy this. So case rest do rest equal nothing, do that. If it, otherwise, if it's not nothing, just get back that you were. And then that'll get passed to the rest. Everything else is the same. So that should fix the waiting time. Back in here. I think the timing is right now. It should be yellow. I think it's done playing back now. Yeah, I don't know why these weren't here before, but my gen server is still playing back events. Oh. Okay. Kind of cool. Alright, so made more progress on playback.